Hi, my name is N. Kritik Santosh, and I'm making the biggest mistake of my life. I mean, honestly, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life so far, but nothing comes this close. Quitting one of my high paying jobs to just try startup without an idea. Do you think I'm crazy? I think I'm crazy. I just want to tell you the other mistakes that I've made in my life that has gotten me to this point in my story. Uh, okay, let's start. I graduated from IIT Kharagpur, one of the best colleges in India. Then I go to work for Blinkit, Zomato, which is one of the most trending stocks in India. Then I go to work for PhonePe, which is going to IPO next year. And then I quit before IPO. I mean, make it make sense, right? But let me break it down. Now, if you already think quitting PhonePe is a mistake, let me tell you of the other biggest mistakes I've made in my life, and that is refusing, not even like they not giving me, refusing Zomato stocks. Who does that? But the thing is, believe me, I had a good reason. So you might have heard all these 1 crore packages, 2 crore packages, and things like that, right? I obviously did not have that, but I also had a pretty decentish package. But the problem with that again is that most of that amount allotted is from stock. So all you have to know is that my job offer from college was really inflated in stocks, and I had zero financial knowledge. And because of this, when the job offer eventually got rescinded, that I did not get the job offer from the company, what had happened was that I grew an inherent hatred towards stocks because I did not know what they meant as a college pass out. So the moment I got a Zomato job offer, without researching anything, I straight up told them I do not want any stocks, but instead, if you can raise the base amount that you're giving me, base amount is the money that I get in hand every month, right? So if that was going up, eventually I was getting more money. But what I had failed to consider is that Zomato is one of the best stocks right now, and also it could have potentially gave me a lot of money. But I did not think about all of that. All I had was a trauma of accepting a job offer because it had really high stock component. And for me at that point, as a 22-year-old, all I thought was stocks equals bad. Obviously not true, guys. Stocks is the best thing ever. If anybody says they are giving you stocks, just take it. But of course, make sure it's a good company and things like that. But because of this, I said no to Zomato stocks, and that I think is honestly the third biggest mistake of my life. But it is fine because Zomato was my introduction to iOS development. So if I had not lost the job offer that I got from college, I would have never gotten into Zomato because I would have gotten into some other company, right? I was waiting for 6 months for the job offer thinking that it would come, but because it did not, I immediately applied for like the companies that were hiring back then. And thankfully, it was a time when Blinkit was hiring for software engineers off campus, and I got in an iOS engineering role. And I definitely got into the iOS role by chance, right? If I actually had an option, I would have chose backend engineering over everything because of this popular notion that backend is logic and front end is, all just UI, things like that, which is not completely true. But I had to get a job soon because I had lost my job and eventually ended up choosing the iOS engineering role in Blinkit. And I traveled to Gurgaon and start working there. Everything is fine except for the part that I refused stocks and all that. But I was learning so many things. It was a good startup. It kept going so fast. I was learning so many things that eventually I feel thankful that I lost my job offer back then in college. Because if that had not happened, Blinkit would not have happened. And Blinkit is honestly one of the best times in my life. I made this, and like parts of this. And that is like more than anybody could ask for, to have such a large contribution in people's life. And the only reason I did this was because a random job offer got rescinded, and I'm thankful for it, honestly. And eventually I had to leave Blinkit for undisclosable reasons. But the thing you have to note is that I did not have to wait full 12 months for waiting for my stocks to vest, because obviously I had no stocks. So I left around the ninth or 10th month of me being in Blinkit, and finally I was very confused because what at that point I felt was that I no longer wanted iOS engineering. So I thought, let me take some break and practice backend. But the moment I started learning backend, right, I realized all this API things, all these things I had done are frankly very boring. And being in Blinkit, one of the best things I realized is that the iOS team, they directly interact firsthand with the product, right? So eventually they end up getting more understanding about the consumer facing side on how they actually operate with the app. And just because of this, even though it feels like all the business logic is lying towards the back end side, what happens on the front end is that you understand what the consumer actually needs, and the understanding of what your user needs is one of the biggest thing any software engineer can have, because it leads to having different perspectives on the way they can solve the problem better. Having a consumer first vision towards building product is always the best thing, and that is what I learned from Blinkit. I learned a lot of things from Blinkit and I'm thankful for the 10 months there. But that is the time when I realized that backend is not something that I'm going to be doing. iOS engineering is something that I'm going to stick to. And I started interviewing back then. I did interview with Google, did not get it. Interviewed with a bunch of other companies and got most of them, because by this time I had already launched my first app on the App Store. I think the only company that I got rejected was Cred, because that was my first iOS interview experience. And they asked me questions which I definitely did not use in real life. Okay, then I eventually gained some knowledge on how to crack iOS interviews and landed PhonePe. And the cool thing about PhonePe was that I joined in as an SDE too, and that was cool because like most companies were like, you have 9 months of experience. Even though I had done like a lot of things in my life, how is it possible that you're joining at SDE2 with less than 1 year of experience? But PhonePe and Uber, they were like willing to look past it, and I eventually joined PhonePe. And PhonePe is where I spent 1 year working on this. And yeah, this, like, the whole world uses this. Like, if you take any time frame, probably some person in the world is using this screen, right? Okay, I mean, obviously only for iOS, but someone is using this screen. And I had worked with this. And this is where my second biggest mistake comes in. When life was so perfect, PhonePe had just announced their IPO, I had began to explore all the AI programming tools, and I realized that my programming skills are now 10x faster, 10x better, and everything is so advanced. And I realized that this is perhaps the best time to start up. The only problem is that the idea was not there. This is when I make the second biggest mistake, which is quitting PhonePe without a startup idea. I think quitting was still a good decision for me because my programming speed has become so much that a large corporation doesn't fit me exactly anymore. The thing is, quitting was the right decision. Quitting without having a startup idea was a bad decision. So if I could go back, I'll probably wait for that, eureka moment or whatever. Now that the thing had happened, I quickly did figure out what I wanted to work on, which was a friend finding social app. I did have this idea for quite some time and I started working on it. I even launched it. And that is where another big mistake comes in, where I realized that I only know about building a product. I don't know how to sell things. I don't know how to market things. I don't know how to, talk to people about what the product is. I mean, I'm pretty good at that, I think. I'm good at getting feedback. But the only problem is I don't know how to reach people who are beyond my regular audience. I've been making YouTube videos for more than a year now, and I tried making Instagram reels, but none of those approaches worked. So right now I've realized that marketing is something that I'm not good at. Honestly, you don't really need to be good at everything, but with the way AI is working and with the way how much programming has become democratized that anybody can write code right now. The next few videos that I'm going to be making is about how anybody can write code using these AI tools. So now in a world where everybody can make apps, the only thing that truly differentiates you is your creative skills, your eye to spot out what is the best thing that could work and all those things. And some of you might argue that ChatGPT, Claude and all sort of writes your product descriptions and sort of tells you what will work. But honestly, I don't think that is there yet. I think LLMs will go as far as, helping us solve things, but it won't have the human touch to identify what will actually work in the real world. It might probably have it like 5-10 years later, but right now that is a differentiating factor. You understanding what humans really want and what is the problems that actually needs to be solved. And that is the things that I need to be improving on. Right now, I'm trying to do storytelling with this video, but I'm not sure how really well it's going on. I do feel like I'm being held on by the lack of experience, even though I've been doing YouTube for more than an year right now. I feel this is completely new to me, and I somehow feel nervous right now. But a great thing about me is that I always learn from my mistakes. And I did make an app, as I told you. I did not market it properly, but the next app that I'm making, I'm going to market it as best as I can. I'm going to make it one of the highly distributed apps. Last time I did not do ads because it cost me money, but this time I'm going to be doing it. I'm going to get reach no matter what. I'm going to make the next app that I'm going to build really, really successful somehow. And that is what I'm going to do. So I'm not sure if this whole thing is a mistake or not. That is for the future me to decide. I did not want to get into iOS engineering. Turns out it's the best decision ever. My work in Blinkit, my work in PhonePe reaches millions of people, and I'm extremely thankful for that. And I want the same experience for the app that I built. So if you want to follow me on this journey, do hit subscribe. Trust me, we are gonna do something great. I'm gonna post my journey on this channel, and I'm gonna take you along with me. So hit that subscribe button. Also hit the like button to help with the algorithm. And I know my storytelling skills aren't the best, but my programming skills are sort of decent. And so I'll be working on everything else. I'll be working on Canva, design, branding, marketing, storytelling, whatnot. I'm going to be working on all of them. So trust me, we're going to get to a point where we will know how to make things better for whole of humanity, is what I'm thinking. Hit subscribe. Okay, see you on another video. Bye.
There was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room. And damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good.